Hello and welcome back to our module number 6, Sustainable Urban Planning and Smart Cities. In this part of the module, we shall be studying about the principles of sustainable urban design. These are the few principles that we shall be studying in this part of the module. But before that, a quick recap of urbanization and environmental stress. In the previous part of this module, we studied about how urbanization is quite essential. It is an unavoidable situation in today's times, and how it's impacting the environment in ways of water, waste management, air pollution, land, and habitat degradation. So, a solution to this could be sustainable urban designing. Let's study about that. So, what is sustainable urban design? Sustainable urban design means designing cities in a way that these cities are environmentally resilient. Let me quickly take you back to this. Unplanned infrastructure. An unplanned infrastructure that we studied leads to a collapse of not only the economy but also the ecology. So it's important that the infrastructure is made in a way that it's sustainable, its longevity is there, it's not environmentally harmful. So we have to design cities in a way that they are environmentally resilient, they are socially inclusive, there's no peri-urban or rural encroachment of the wetlands, grasslands, or other water bodies. It's economically efficient. So why urban design needs to be sustainable? Apart from the basic reason that it has to be made in a way that it sustains the environment for the coming generations and does not degrade the environment more than it already has, it aligns with the 11th Sustainable Development Goal, which talks about sustainable cities and communities. This sustainable urban design integrates into planning, architecture, transport, water, and green space. Now, what components are there in an urban space? There are houses, there's town planning, there are architectural designs of big buildings, of companies, of industries, of houses, or flats or big buildings. There's transport, there's water utilization and water discharge, and green spaces. So, the core objective of sustainable urban planning is to reduce the carbon footprint, maximize the land use efficiency, improve air and water quality, and ensure social equity and livability. Because, as we studied in our previous module, right to clean air, right to clean environment, right to life, Article 21. Build climate resilient urban ecosystems. So the first principle, low impact zoning. This focuses on compact vertical growth instead of a horizontal sprawl. You all must have noticed that township plannings in metropolitan cities mostly have a vertical structure rather than a horizontal sprawl. So that's low impact zoning. This protects wetlands, farmlands, and forests from encroachment, and it prioritizes a mixed use and infill development. Delhi Master Plan for 2041 emphasizes redevelopment and compact growth. The second principle, green infrastructure. Now, as this word itself suggests, it has to be something natural. Integrating natural ecosystems into city planning. How beautiful does that sound? To have something natural incorporated into city planning is to have a blend of man and animal living together in a happy space. That's about cohabitation. That's about sharing your ecosystems with the other creations of God. The features of green infrastructure are green roofs, bioswales, rain gardens, tree canopies. It manages urban flooding and improves air quality. Now, of course, if you incorporate a natural ecosystem into your city planning, it will have ground spaces which will seep in the water when it rains, preventing urban flooding. It will have green canopies, it will have trees and grass and so much plantation incorporated in your city planning, which will improve the quality of air. For example, Rashtrapati Bhavan's green infrastructure. I I just saw pictures of the same while I was preparing this lecture, and I suggest you all to look at those pictures. Rashtrapati Bhavan has a beautiful bioswale, it has beautiful tree canopies, and that is the pictorial representation of green infrastructure. Mixed use development. Mixed use means that you incorporate residence for living, commercial for work, recreation for activities in one zone. And why we do that? Because that will reduce commute time and promote walkability. Now imagine there's a building, it's a housing society, and that society in itself has residential houses, it has commercial computer spaces where you can work from there, or it has availability for shops on rent where people can open up their business, and it also has recreation parks, it has a swimming pool, it has green roofs, everything in one zone. Now, such residents of such a housing place will prefer walking rather than commuting to another place altogether. This serves a twin purpose. It not only gives you a reason to recreate your own healthy mind and body, but also serves a purpose to preserve the environment. It encourages vibrant and inclusive neighborhoods. So this is a three purpose. This is the third purpose. It develops vibrant, inclusive neighborhoods. Now, it reminds me of an example you all might relate. We all have seen our childhood favorite, Tarak Mehta Ka Ulta Chashma. Now, it was one vibrant, inclusive neighborhood because we had residential spaces, commercial shops, and recreation in one zone. Another real-time example is the BKC Mumbai, where financial, retail, and public areas are all in one precinct. The other principle of sustainable urban design is TOD, transit-oriented development. Transit refers to transport. Now, this refers to developing public transport corridors. It prioritizes pedestrians, cyclists, and metro bus access. It reduces the car usage and emissions. Example, Ahmedabad, Janmarg, BRTS, and Delhi Metro TOZ zones, example in Dwarka. So such TOD zones prioritize less carbon footprints and more community usage of public transport. This is one sustainable urban design with regards to transit. Next is about public open spaces. Now, it's not very right to make a public garden a privilege for the few. The green spaces should be the gift of urban planners to everyone. In fact, they should know that it's a gift of nature to everyone, and privatization of open spaces, especially green spaces, is bad. There should be accessible green spaces for all ages. For this fact, I would like to really appreciate the planning of Chandigarh. Every city, every sector in Chandigarh pretty much has its own garden. It has its own park, which has its own open gyms, and it's accessible for all ages. Now, this again serves a twin purpose. It connects the man to the nature, it improves your mental and physical health, and it also supports biodiversity. The Lodi Garden in Delhi is called the lungs of Delhi because it's an open public space which is green, which supports big, huge biodiversity. The other principle is an affordable, inclusive housing. Now, everyone pretty much has to move to the cities, to the urban areas for their job purposes, for a better lifestyle, for better opportunities, or better exploration towards their fulfillment of life. Now, to house those people, the housing must be inclusive and affordable. A mixed income housing to prevent slums and gentrification. It should not be like two extremes of the world. It should not be, it's either someone living in the slums and just at the back side of the slums, there's a big, huge building. That's gentrification. So it should be an affordable, inclusive housing where mixed income people can also find a place, leading to social equity and reducing urban inequality. Because what happens, this point is really important, not just from an economic point of view, but also from an ecological point of view. Because developing of slums or unauthorized occupations or encroachments leads to a lot of uncalled for and unplanned infrastructure again, and ultimately causes environmental stress. So it is for the urban designers, it is for the governments, it is for the municipalities to promote an affordable, inclusive housing. The Jag mission in Odisha was a mission to upgrade the slums with in situ development. The PMAY in the urban areas is a large scale affordable housing across India. Many slum dwellers were given a small square feet of area to develop their houses so that it's not completely an unauthorized use of the land, causing environmental stress again. Imagine the economic loss that's happening alongside of this ecological loss. The next principle is climate responsive architecture. Use of local materials, natural ventilation, and daylighting. Now, these are very basic climate responsive architectural points, and surprisingly, all these things that we talk about today in big fancy terms of natural ventilation and daylighting and everything, if you see the old housing patterns of villages, the houses used to have big doors, big windows, and no one really used to have a tube light used for the day. No one really needed fans until it was extremely hot, because the houses were designed in such a way that the influx and efflux of air would cause a natural ventilation and beautiful atmosphere in the house, in the open verandas, in the balconies. The roofs used to be high. The floors used to be mopped with gili gachi, which used to keep the rooms cool. It used to be a natural ventilation and daylighting, of course. But now we often see that everything is a closed space. We have at least 10 lights in one room, and at least two of them are lit all the time, even during the day. And also passive solar designs to reduce energy needs. You need to have naturally cooled and sunlit campuses. The CEPT University in Ahmedabad is one such campus. And then we must try and reduce the consumption of natural resources, whether renewable or non-renewable, as much as we can. We need to be climate responsive. Our architecture, as much as we are concerned about the aesthetics, we must also be concerned about the environmental impacts. Coming to the conclusion of the principles of sustainable urban design, the future of urban India. The cities in India, like we discussed in our previous part of the same module, are fast urbanizing. And that needs bold, sustainable planning steps. Slow responses from the government, slow responses from the municipalities, slow responses from the community, which are being targeted with an excessive urbanization and excessive stress on the environment uh, and a very selfishly high rate of exploitation of resources is a bad balance. We need to invest in people centric, green, and inclusive urban designs. We need to combine technology and, most importantly, tradition and community participation. There's a beautiful quote that I read. It said, "We shape our cities, and then the cities shape us." It's very right. You can actually make out the temperament of a person from where the person is coming. If a person is constantly stuck in traffic, he's constantly hearing the horns, the honking of vehicles, the smoke from every vehicle coming inside of him, the buildings having a bad waste disposal, the buildings having a bad sewage drainage, the roads are clogged, as against a person who is living in a green, inclusive urban design which is sustainably fit. The contrast that you can imagine in the temperament of a person is really real. The future of urban India needs to be people centric. It needs to go back to its roots. It needs to be more community participative. And that's how the sustainable urban design forms an important topic in our sustainability. In our next topic, we shall talk about architecture and certain smart cities about India. Until then, I hope this part of our module with these core objectives had something to tell you about our 11th Sustainable Development Goal. I'll see you soon. Thank you.